Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. Here at Center for Victory, we're here to unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer. Today, we have a very special guest. We're coming from the Pavement Group studio, which I love these guys. I've met them through the Canyon, and they've just been a great bunch of folks to work with. And we're over here again with Carl and Mr. Vinnie Candelore. And we're going to talk about him today. So welcome, Vinnie, first of all. Can you tell the folks a little bit about actually your company? I know you work at the Pavement Group too, but you do some pretty cool things, and that's what I want to get into today.
Yeah.
So give us a little intro to your company, please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, man. This is like, you know, I've seen you do an episode with Trey and Brian, so I've been like itching to get over here too and chop it up because, you know, we hit it off, you know, in the Canyon. We pretty much did an entire hike together through there. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I'm an artist. I've been painting and drawing pretty much my entire life. I've just always had a desire for creativity, and it's came in different forms. I've customized shoes. I paint canvases. I've designed clothes and sports uniforms and things like that. I've done a little bit of graphic work. Now I'm getting into video and design, and that's kind of like, what you see here at the Pavement Group is my role with the social media channels and all of that. But yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's it.
And your company, you're sporting it on your hat.
So this is our podcast. It's called Athletic Aesthetic, and my co-host Trey, who you had on, and I actually started the show January 2022 in my basement. I had no idea what I was doing. I recorded it on an iPhone, first episode, just sitting at my desk, and I just knew I wanted to start sharing some of the things on my mind. I knew that I had an audience that was interested in the football and the art that I was, the mixture of stuff on my page. So I figured if I start talking to that audience, eventually we can go on a journey together and talk about everything. But I didn't know what it would look like. So now, we brought Trey on as the co-host full time, and the show has been on a different trajectory since then. And man, it's exciting.
Yeah, with him, you don't have anything. You'll have enough words to fill space for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. For sure.
So I wanted to talk today because, when people were, one, I'm always impressed when I meet somebody with your type of creativity. I mean, we started. We just hit it off when all of us were getting ready to go through the Canyon together. We had that day before. So, we're asking everybody what they're doing, trying to get to know you guys. And then somebody showed me your stuff, and I was like, man, that is so cool.
Thanks.
All right? Because, I have trouble with stick people. All right? So I'm really impressed when somebody's really good at what they do. And that uniqueness, and we're always at our company always trying to help people unlock who they are, right? Be authentic to who they are. Now, I can never be you, right? I would love to, because I'm just fascinated by how your mind works, and I haven't got to see you work yet. But I literally could just pull up I could get a cup of coffee, and I could literally just watch you work. It fascinates me to watch people that are really good at their craft.
Well, thank you. First of all.
But, you've said you've been doing this
my whole
pretty
life.
much your whole life.
Yeah. I had
Can you go back to think about when it maybe first started? Or
Of course, man. I knew that I knew I liked to draw. First of all, I had an uncle, and he was an incredible artist. Everybody in my family, if there was anybody that mentioned art or drawing or painting, he was the guy that, that they referenced. And he was not my first uncle. He was my grandfather's brother, so like a great uncle.
Okay.
But he lived with my grandfather, and I remember I would go sleep over my grandparents' house as a young kid, and I would just bring a sketchbook because I would sit down with him. His name was Uncle Tony, and yeah, Uncle Tony. I called him Nunny, though, at the time. I couldn't say Uncle Tony, apparently. And then that stuck until I got to about 13, and I was like, I can't be calling another grown man Nunny, so I switched it up to Uncle Tony. But he like would sit down with me and he let me draw like what I was interested in. You know, I think that like a lot of kids are confused about like there's a certain way to like learn something that you're passionate about. And what he did was he like asked me like, what would you want to draw? Like you're obviously like you enjoy this. What do you want to do? Well, like let's, you know, and one of the things that I was really excited about drawing back then was monster trucks. I loved monster trucks.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I like was obsessed with monster trucks. Every time they came to Pittsburgh growing up, I was at like we had the pit passes, we were meeting the drivers, like
oh wow, you were like full throttle.
I knew more about vehicles and like mechanics at age 5 than I do now. Like I could tell you like a truck broke down and like they need to check. I didn't know what I was saying. I just had watched so many videos of monster trucks that I knew what it was. And so he was like, if you really enjoyed monster trucks, draw Gravedigger, draw Bigfoot, draw these monster trucks that I was obsessed with as a kid. And so he helped me get good at that. And then it morphed into, you know, I would go to school and you know, I started drawing Pokemon characters because I didn't even care about Pokemon. All my friends were obsessed with Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I started drawing the characters. And then next thing I know, people are trading me their gummy snacks at lunch for their favorite Pokemon character drawing. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, I'm getting paid to do this. I'm not money yet, but gummy snacks are a hot commodity in second grade. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think that was like the initial like boost where I was like, okay, people actually see that I have a gift for this and are acknowledging it. I think that was one of the main things for me was that I was really encouraged at a young age by my parents and by my family to lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really grateful for that because I think a lot of people feel a gift or a calling in their life and they don't have like a support system to like tell them to lean into it. And so I wonder, you know, would I be where I'm at or who I am? I don't think so without like that kind of support system.
Mm-hmm. What other things did they do to kind of support you or say, hey, look, you know, keep doing this? You said with, you know, your Uncle Tony, what did your parents do?
Well, I mean, every year for Christmas, like my parents, we never had a lot of money. We were taken care of. Like we always had food on the table and my dad worked his butt off to make sure of that. He was a construction worker. But he was a musician as well. So like he was he was a creative as well. His form was through music and he was an incredible guitar player. And so, you know, he made sure that like Christmases and birthdays and everything felt like we weren't lacking. And, you know, sometimes I know that put them in a compromising position, you know, as a family unit. But looking back, like I would have never known as a kid. Like he would go above and beyond to make sure, you know, he bought me my first airbrush kit. I mean, as a kid, people would just bring me reams of paper when they'd come over to the house because I would just be drawing nonstop, just drawing. And I would go through paper like crazy. So I would get excited when people would bring reams of paper to my house for Christmas.
Okay.
Like, I'm a weird kid. But, you know, it was really cool to see them, you know, before I could financially support the dream, to pour into it by, you know, providing the tools that I needed and, you know, the encouragement that I needed and all those things. They were really there for me in that sense.
Yeah, because I don't know, because you went to college and you studied art, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
West Liberty University.
Right.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know, again, too many parents that would say, hey, look, I want you to go get an art degree.
Yeah.
Right? And I would love to think I would do that for my kids and I really push them to where they wanted to go. But I think that's difficult for some parents to go like, what are you actually going to do? Because if you can't be like, you know, schools only have like one art teacher.
Yeah.
Right? There's not like one for every grade and things like that. I think it's probably says a lot about your parents that they supported that.
I kind of tricked them into letting me get an art degree. I went for graphic design.
Oh, okay.
So it's like I showed up as a graphic design major. No, I mean, if I went to school for art, my parents and I had a really great relationship. There was not a lot of like, you know, if they put their foot down about something, I knew it was for a good reason. So like, you know, when I initially said I wanted to go to school for art, they supported it. But they were like, let's figure out like what that means. You know what I mean? Like there are certain forms of art that are going to be more financially, better return for your investment. So graphic design was one of the things that I was interested in, but I had never touched Photoshop or even any software like that before college. So it was really a shot in the dark for me to go for that. I mean, a lot of kids that I came in with had like some high school class with some understanding of, I really didn't know the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator or InDesign or any of the software. But, I went and this was another way that my dad supported me, was there were certain scholarships set up for art programs at different schools. Westminster was actually one of them. And I went to Westminster. My dad would drive me on the weekends my senior year in high school before I decided where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. The other thing is I wanted to play football. So he was willing to support whatever I was going to go to school for to let me keep playing football. And so we looked up all these schools that had separate scholarship funds for artists and, creatives. And so you had to submit your art portfolio up to that point in high school, and they would pick like whatever. I came down to Westminster. I actually won at Westminster, and I won at West Liberty. And I made my decision based off the fact that West Liberty was a Division II school, and they eventually could offer me athletic scholarship as well, whereas Westminster being D3 at the time, I'm not sure what it is now, but I knew that the art scholarship was the only option there. And so I chose West Liberty, and I did win that incoming freshman scholarship. So there's different ways that, my dad, if he wasn't willing to drive an hour, 2-3 hours on the weekend to just hope, put me in a position to win, I don't know if I would have ended up there, So I look back and there's little details to the story that, I even forget about sometimes. I think I forgot about that until right this moment when I'm telling you about it.
Well, that's good. So I'm going to flip the script just a little bit. We're going to talk personal because then I'm going to ask you, we were just, before we got on here, we were talking about your kiddos.
Yeah.
Veda and Vinnie the third.
Yeah.
Right?
VC3.
VC3. All right. So what do you do? What are you more mindful now that you know what you do about where you came from? What are you mindful of that our listeners or viewers might say, hey, look, I need to try that with my kids. So now that you have kiddos, what do you do to help bring out their talents?
Yeah. So
And how old are they, by the way?
4. Veda is 4, and little Vinny he should be turning 11 months on the 7th. So, not even a year old yet. And I've learned that, for one, they're both so different already. Like, I already can tell that he is I'm going to get up and, he's walking. He's been walking since 10 months old. And, I know that was before Veda was walking. Like, Veda was, struggling to, like, stand up and do whatever. She was never, like, physically the most advanced in the group of kids when we put her on the floor. He is. Her, on the other hand, is she's very analytical. She thinks. She sees things very much so like me. And it's funny to see the world through her eyes. Like, we just went to Disney World last week, and watching her pay attention to details that I know I'm the only one usually paying attention to was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, it's going to be so fun to, like, watch her come into her own. And, like, I understand her. I understand the way she kind of sees the world in certain ways. I'm not saying that I understand her fully because everybody's their own person, but, like, it excites me to lean into, whatever they're good at. My dad wanted me to be a baseball player. He was a baseball player. I ended up being a football player, and, the first year that I played, he volunteered to coach me. He was always okay with me doing my thing as long as it was my thing and I wasn't trying to live a life that I thought my friends would think was cool, or, like, he knew that, like, if I'm living a life to just, satisfy him, eventually I'm going to end up living a life to satisfy someone else to fill that void. So, he taught me at a young age, just, and I say him and my mom both supported me from a young age, and just, if you're going to do something, you do it all the way, you do it thoroughly, and you do it the right way with the right morals and values in mind, and you'll be okay. You'll find struggle in anything you do. So if you enjoy what you do, you'll power through that struggle, Yeah,
that's good stuff. So your whole artwork, what you're creative about is wild. I know you'll let us post all those
house,
things, post all those things on this for people to look at. But before we forget, because I don't want to forget,
Yeah.
how can people take a look at you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Like where should they be looking? Because I want people to hear this and immediately, like I almost want them to stop right now when they hear it and check out your work. Because
I appreciate that, man.
I was just like, this dude did that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My Instagram is my main hub for everything.
Yeah, right.
It's at VC, the number 2 art, so VC2 art. I have a website, vc2art.com, where if you're interested, if you go to my Instagram and you see some of my work and you want to purchase it, or, figure out like what something would cost for a custom painting or whatever, there's links throughout the website that you can click on and, fill out a form, and there's endless ways to get in touch with me. If you send me a DM on there, odds are I'm going to see it and respond. So yeah, I'm easy to get in touch with. The podcast itself is at Athletic Aesthetic Pod on all social medias, and we post everything to YouTube like you guys do as well. So we're definitely going to have to, maybe have you as a guest on Athletic Aesthetic sometime as well.
Yeah, well, if you get Trey and I both on we're going to wear you out. That'll be a long one.
I won't have to worry about getting more minutes to get monetized. We'll get it all in one episode, maybe. If I get one person to watch it through.
Oh, I forget what I was.
Is that? Hey, wait. Yeah. Is that a YouTube hack? If you got to get like 1 million views to get monetized, if you make a video, or 1 million watch minutes, if you make a video that's 1 million minutes long and upload it and just have a computer play all the way through, do you hit it?
Yeah.
There you go. That's what we're here for today. YouTube hacks.
I know what I wanted to ask you. So you talked about what you do, like your artwork. The first thing I saw that somebody showed me were the shoes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna dumb it down for me and my audience, but you paint shoes. Yeah. Okay. It's not just paint. Tell us what you do with those.
Yeah, it's a whole process, and it was a lot of failure at the beginning of learning how to properly paint shoes. And I'm not saying I have it down to a perfect science, because there is no perfect science to it. The perfect science is manufacturing them in the production line. When you customize something, it becomes art, and you have to try your hardest to make sure that they're durable, because people want to wear them. Yeah. But that they look good, that they look clean, they have a factory finish, so that if you scuff them up, they're not going to get paint's not chipping off. And I've had professional athletes wear my shoes in a game and text me a picture where the paint's coming off, and it's like, dang, I got to get better. And that this has been a 10-year process of learning how to customize shoes.
Like in your mind, what made you just pick up a shoe and say, like, I'm going to design something on this?
It started in college when my teammates wanted me to customize their cleats. I had no idea what I was doing, so I would just legit spray paint their
So it's
their
like
cleats.
The Pokemon thing again.
Oh yeah, it was always like, well, if people are willing to do this, how do I maximize it, kind of thing. And then I started working at Finish Line in college, and was around shoes a lot, so I had access to a lot of the limited. I mean, at this time, people were lining up. This was before the apps and stuff, so people were lining up on a Saturday morning to get whatever Jordan was coming out, and it would sell out like that. So if I bought 2 pair of Jordans with at the store, I could flip them immediately when the line ran out, because they're going to pay more. Like, I learned that, and then I was like, so if I buy these shoes and I customize them, they're now worth exponentially more. And so, that was how I got the start in customizing sneakers.
So give people just an idea of what you would put on a shoe.
I've painted everything.
Like, what's your favorite spin?
I was just showing my buddy Jesse, who he's actually working out of this space here at the office too now. He's customizing shoes. I was showing him a pair of cleats I did last year he's a former Pittsburgh Steeler. He now plays for 49ers. His name's Ray McLeod. I did a pair that was based off of Blue Streak. It's like an old Martin Lawrence movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was just one of the most fun pairs that I got a chance to do. Like, I love when people give me creative freedom. Mm-hmm. If you give me a topic that, I had never seen the movie when he inquired about that shoe, and I was like, huh. So I remember like sitting down, I put the movie on, and like there's a whole prep process to the shoe before you actually start customizing it. Sanding, acetone, remove the factory finish, I mean, it's a whole process before you actually get to apply paint. And I knew that process takes a couple hours. And I was like, well, while I'm doing this, I'm going to watch the movie. So I'm watching the movie, sanding these shoes, and like, I love the movie. And then it was such like a cool momentum into a project because I just watched it. It was a cool movie. I had like these great ideas as I'm watching it. And now I have the blank canvas ready to go. And I just started going in on it. And so looking back at that project, sometimes I feel like my favorite ones aren't just based off of the final product, but the process of making them is, you know, what I look back and I get excited about. So,
and then you do canvases, right? I've seen a lot of players football.
Yeah.
I mean, again, going back to kind of tying some of your passions together, which are amazing.
Thank you.
How did that start?
That was a passion project, and that's actually why I'm sitting here right now today. I was doing a lot of custom shoes. All my shoes that I do are commissions. Like, rarely do I do a pair just because I just want to do it anymore.
Right.
And I got to a point where I was feeling a little bogged down. Like, you know, it gets, as a creative, like, you got to do something here and there to just shake things up. Because, you know, if you're just creating just to make money, like, you're going to burn out.
Right.
And I got to that point. I was in the studio downtown with my buddy Cody Sable, who I had shared the space with, and he kept saying to me, he's like, bro, you got to do stuff for you. You got to work on a project for you. And I would just be like, dude, I know, but I got to like pay these bills, you know, like the faster I get these commissions done, the faster I get the money. And so the thought of adding a 40-hour painting into the mix of that work just doesn't even make sense. And, you know, one day it got to the point where I was just so overwhelmed with everything, to the point where I said, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a painting this week, and I'm just going to paint whatever I want to paint. I'm going to go back to like being a kid. I'm going to go back to like when my uncle used to tell me, like, paint what you want to paint, like do it for you. And I remember like sitting there like, I don't know what I'm going to paint. And MJ Devonshire for Pitt, he's a defensive back for Pitt. This was during the backyard brawl last season when the first backyard brawl game was brought back.
Yep.
He got an interception, returned it for a touchdown to win the game. And it just was such an electric moment because it brought me back to being a kid. Like, I remember I used to sit there and draw like Tyler Pelko, Larry Fitzgerald, like all these Pitt greats, Rod Rutherford, that like, you know, from times past. And I was like, I don't know the last time I, you know, painted like a football player or like someone that wasn't a commission. I used to love it. Now it's starting to be work. What if I just chose the person I wanted to paint and just did it? So I painted this picture of MJ, and I posted it to Instagram. He reached out. I connected with him. I had him on my podcast from doing that painting, and I realized I did that painting in one day because I was like in this flow of like, I knocked that painting out. And then I thought to myself, well, if I can commit to doing this every single week throughout the season, because that was week 0. That was before the NFL season had started. So I was like, if I can do an NFL painting every single week, let's just see what it leads to. And from doing that first painting, Trey reached out to me because he was a I don't know if he was roommate or just teammate of MJ at Pitt. And so we connected. He introduced me to Brian. I told Brian I'm in the midst of this series. I'm like at week 8 at this point. And I'm like, I got 9 weeks to go before the end of the season. And I was like, I don't have any plan for it. I'm just doing it. And I'm glad because now I'm introduced. I'm sitting in the room with him and Trey. But I'm like, honestly, I might just be sitting on 18 paintings at the end of the season and not really have anything to do with them. So, you know, he was like, well, if you could do anything. And I was like, that's a dangerous question, Brian. Like, what do you really want me, like, I'd love to do an art show with these. I'd love to display them, have like a thing. And he was like, all right, well, let's figure it out. And from that week 8 moment, I decided and started meeting with Brian more and more and saw what they were looking to do here. I accepted the position here by November. And then by February, we were at Stage AE for our art exhibit that was fully, paid for by the Pavement Group and the sponsors that made that happen, that came together and really brought my vision to life. And I'll never forget that because, you know, I started that series out of pure desperation and exhaustion for like, I want to keep creating, but I'm hitting a wall over and over and over. And then for me to put the foot in the ground and just be like, I'm going to create for me. And then for that to be received, it felt really, really amazing. So
So a couple more things. Like, it's not always easy being creative and getting up and staying with your passion. Like, what would you tell people? Because this is what people are going to want to know, at least to tune in to us.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's your best day yet. It's not always a great day.
Yeah.
There's some struggles with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure sometimes you second guess yourself every once in a while, or want to put it down. Maybe, I don't know.
No doubt. Every day. Every day I want to put it down. And I think that what I would say to that is you better love what you do. If you don't love what you do, there's going to be a day where you put it down and you don't pick it back up. If you love what you do, it's okay when you have to put it down, because you know that that's a piece of you, and that when you recharge and find what you need, you're going to pick it back up. You're not going to leave it laying there on the ground because you love it. You love it. And if you find yourself maybe quitting often, or, you know, maybe just not finding as many wins as you are losses, or whatever it may be, that you feel like defeated in that way, or it's not your best day yet, I think that's your opportunity to figure out why you put that down, why you needed to put that down, and if you truly love that or not. If you don't love it, it's okay. It wasn't meant to be. You have something out there that is waiting for you to step into. And so, you know, I've always said my art is just my vehicle. Like, it's not me. Like, I have a larger calling in my life. It is not to just be the best painter that I can be, or to make the coolest pair of shoes anybody's ever seen. Like, when I am 6 feet in the ground, like, I want people to remember how I made them feel. The art is just what got us in the same room. Once the art's gets us in the room, now I get to show you who I am. And so, you know, I think you got to figure out, like, what is your vehicle to get you in that room. But if you're on a path and you're in those rooms and you can't even be yourself because the vehicle you took to get you in that room doesn't allow you to be yourself, you got a lot of, like, it's all just self-work. It's all just reflection. We were talking on Brian's show this morning just about, you know, looking in the mirror and being okay with what you see. And I think that's when you're looking at a canvas, you're essentially looking at a mirror. And if you're going to stare at that thing for 40 hours, you better be all right with, you know, what you see.
That's a good advice.
Yeah.
That's actually real good advice.
Thanks.
I hope that somebody, you know, hears that and says, yeah, I hope this encourages people to go out there, do what, you know, they're called to do, but also have a why behind it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And just, again, to get a hold of Vinnie, I mean, check it out, please. I mean, please just check it out, because it is fascinating.
Thanks, man.
I'm not overselling it at all. The first time I saw it, like, somebody showed me, I was like in the middle of the bus when we were going to the canyon. I think that's when somebody showed me. I can't remember who. And maybe it was Caleb. It was probably Caleb, because we were talking that whole time.
He came to the exhibit. That's where I met him.
Right.
Which is crazy. Wow, there's so many connections that are like coming to my,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
He came to that exhibit. Wow.
And I was like, holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, it really does fascinate me. So, you know,
I just got goosebumps thinking about that.
And, you know, we did the canyon all together. You know, that was great, getting to know you guys. What was crazy is, you know, finding out you didn't really train for that. That was, I don't know if that was just dumb, like, but you made it.
A combination of stupidity and ignorance.
Yeah.
But we got through.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, like, in my brain, when they pitched the idea of hiking the Grand Canyon, I had no reference of what that means. I just thought that meant we're going to go check out the Grand Canyon.
Right.
I didn't know that it was like
25 miles.
No, until I was already committed. I tried to back out a few times.
Oh, did you? I didn't know you tried to back out.
I was nervous, and they were like, "Nah, you'll be all right, dude. You'll be all right." And I'm like, "All right, I'll be all right. I'll be all right." And then I get there, and, like, they're pretty much just like, "If you didn't train, you shouldn't be here." And I'm like, "Oh." Like, you ever seen the, like, Homer Simpson meme where he, like, creeps back into the bushes?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I felt when I got to the canyon. But, yeah, I just...
Yeah, you're one of the few that I've, like, because we did, Caleb and I did Fuji a few weeks prior to that.
Yeah, that's wild.
And, we had a couple people, and they were on a bus, and there was one lady, she's like, I didn't train for this. I'll be okay. And she didn't even make it the first day.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, she didn't even make it to the first checkpoint. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. And
then they were kept checking in on you. I didn't understand. It took me a while to get that you had not trained.
Yeah.
And because they keep at, how's Vinnie doing? How's Vinnie doing? I was with Brian most of the time, and I'm like, why do you guys keep worrying about Vinnie?
Everyone was concerned.
Yeah.
Literally, I would say goodbye to people here at the office that weren't going on the trip. And, I could legit, I'm not kidding. I felt a few times people hug me and wonder,
is he coming back?
Is he coming back? And I just had to, walk away from that. I don't know how to feel right now because I'm trying to pretend confidence.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job.
Yikes.
And hopefully
Thanks.
you'll train next time.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I was saying is VC2Art on Instagram, VC2Art.com.
Yeah, is my website.
Is your
it's
website.
VC2Art on any platform.
Yeah.
So if you go on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, I think LinkedIn's under Vincent Candelore. But yeah, I'm everywhere, and I have stuff on my website. Like I said, I have the customization forms where if you want to get something made, you can fill those out. But I still do have paintings from the exhibit. If you have a sports enthusiast in your life, they make great gifts.
It's a good time to buy one.
It's a great time.
I mean, because they're very cool.
I got
I was just checking them out actually before we came in here.
Yeah, there's prints up there.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. So for whatever budget you have, if you want to just get a print, frame it, put it on your wall, or if you want the original canvas, it's there.
All right. So do that. We'll put the links down in our stuff here for sure. We'll probably have you back on. Hopefully I can get in with you and Trey on your show too. That would be kind of cool.
We should
see if we could do just a whole afternoon.
Yeah.
But that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching and listening. We really appreciate it. You can get more information at centerforvictory.com. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you soon.